Hey everybody, welcome to a little video that I'm going to call Digesting with Jannan. It's a little tribute to Binging With Babish and an entry into its competition for Breath of the Wild. Today we're going to be making three dishes. Firstly, starting with wheat bread. Secondly, we're going to be making some seafood rice balls, and our third dish is going to be a vegetable curry. Let's get started. So to start off with, we're just going to take some warm milk, water, a bit of yeast and some sugar. And we're going to whisk that up until you start getting the nice aromas of baking bread from the yeast. At that point you're going to add your dry ingredients because your yeast has been activated. Add some salt and we're just going to whisk that up until it reaches a shaggy consistency. Try to use something a bit more sturdy. My flimsy whisk just didn't hold up. Turn the mixture out onto a clean surface and it's time to begin kneading. You really don't need a great technique, just make sure you're turning the mixture on itself. And as soon as you start getting it combined, add in your room temperature butter and just continue to fold on itself. Now the mixture is going to get extremely greasy, it's going to be slippery, you might need to wipe down your surfaces, but just stick with it and don't add any more flour. And once you get a
this is a homage beat.
Ostrich egg-like shape, I guess, your dough's ready to rise for half an hour. After half an hour, you're rewarded with this beautiful dough. So it's time to separate your dough out into 6 equal pieces now. Just start kneading, slap it a bit so you look like a professional baker, and just push it onto the table as if you're trying to push it through the table, so you get this lovely rounded top. You're going to leave them to rise in a dish for about half an hour. I forgot to film this part, but you can imagine what that looks like. Once they've risen for half an hour, we're going to roll them out into the shapes that we want. If your tops aren't looking nice and shiny and they have a bit of an uneven consistency, just start folding it in on itself and it should start to spring. You're going to leave it to bench rest for another 15 minutes. In this time you can make your egg wash just by combining salt and egg together in a blender. I like to add mine to a spray bottle so I can ensure an even coating, but you know, each to their own. Grab your dough, slap it, and then you're just going to roll it out into mini baguette shapes. It's going to have an ugly side, that's the bottom. Make sure you fold it onto the top so you've got that nice smooth, even consistency. Place the buns into a tray and cover them with your egg wash. We're then going to score them. Remember to score them at an angle and make sure you use the egg wash before. Leave them to rest for another hour and they should have doubled in size. In that time you should be preheating your oven to 230 degrees. Just remember that when you go to open it.
This is a homage beat.
And that's it. We're going to leave them in there for 15 minutes. Just making sure to turn them after 7 minutes so they get an even coating. And voila. There we go. And here are your buns. Move the buns onto a cooling rack and leave them for about 2 hours to cool down, and you're rewarded with something that looks a little bit just like this. It tastes great with some authentic Hylian goat cheese, but if you can't find that, just regular goat cheese will be fine. So the next dish is the onigiri. First step, we're going to wash our rice several times, and this removes the starch from the rice. I highly suggest that you should try drinking the strained water. It's rice water and it tastes amazing. We're going to add the water to the rice, use your own ratios, generally about one cup of rice to 2 cups of water, and we're going to add that to the hob. Make sure to cook it till it's boiling. And once it reaches that point, just give it a little fluff and let it simmer for 15 minutes. Then we're going to make a sauce, which we're going to season our salmon with. I use 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a pinch of salt, and just a little bit of coriander. We're going to take the salmon, place it onto a tray, and just cook it on a low heat. It's time to shape your seaweed, and once the salmon's cooked, we're just going to cut it up into some thin pieces. Make sure that you eat some.
This is a homage beat.
So once your rice is cooked, you're going to just wait for it to cool down and then grab some water and some salt. Place the salt in one hand, the water in the other, and just rub them together. Now, I really do suggest you leave this rice for a long time. It stays warm for an awful long time. Got some pretty good burns there. So come back to it once it's cooled down and just take the rice, place it into your hand and just start forming triangles with it. You just need to get your seaweed, wrap it around both sides, and that's it. I mean, this is a really simple dish. Just grab the salmon to top it off. I mean, this dish is super versatile. You can change the topping, you can flavour your rice. It's a really great dish just to have. Notice my little triforce there with the seaweed. So moving on to the vegetable curry, I just want to show you a little bit about organisation. Obviously, when you're making a cooking video, you kind of need the peeler. Make sure you know where things are. I gave up looking for it. I just tried using a knife. I've never tried this before. It kind of worked, I guess. Not a bad job. We're going to start off by sauteing our shallots. When they start to brown, we're going to add the ginger. Just make sure that they get an even coating of oil. And then we're also going to add our butternut squash to that mixture as well. So it's time to add our Goron spice. And for those of you who don't have time to head up to Death Mountain to get some of this, what you're going to need is some shallots, some ginger, some red chilies. Place that in a blender with some soy sauce, some ground cumin, coriander, white pepper, chili powder and cinnamon. Add some lime juice, some sugar and some salt, and some lemongrass puree with also some tomato puree. Make sure it's quite a decent puree there. And we're just going to blend it up. Once all the ingredients are blended, we're going to start adding about 1 to 3 tablespoons of coconut milk. Just kind of eyeball it. Just a little tip, remember to leave the lid on until it's completely finished blending. I got a nice coating in my eyes here. Luckily no permanent damage. Once it's all blended up, give it a quick taste. And once it tastes good for you, that's your Goron spice. We're going to add that to the butternut squash, shallots and ginger, and we're just going to leave it to fry off really. It's time to make the rice. So we're going to take some milk, some water and some rice and just boil the rice. Simple as that. Whilst the rice cooks, it's time to prepare your veg for steaming. So you just want to get some carrots, some courgettes and your asparagus. Just cut them to a nice consistency. After that, not really too much to say. Add some coconut milk and some vegetable stock to your mixture and voila, one completed vegetable curry. Now, I didn't really get a good picture of this, but I can promise you this is a really tasty meal. You should definitely try it out. So that's my entry. I'm not the greatest chef, but I just really wanted to give this a go. This was a really good opportunity to have some friends around and have some nice food. So thank you, Babish. And good luck to everyone else who's entered.